January 29th, 1995, The People versus OJ Simpson begins. One thing that I did know, and tell me if I'm wrong, because I did hear this, that Marcia Clark and Christopher Darden had interned for Judge Ito at one point. Like they were all like...
I never heard that.
Okay, so maybe I made that up. I heard
that could be true.
I could have sworn I heard that some of the prosecutors and the judge like were friendly with each other.
They were, yeah.
Okay.
They were friendly, yeah.
Okay. All right. So yeah, so let's.
So if we're going to touch on the trial, why don't we get into jury selection?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because there are some interesting things that came up with that.
Yes. Okay. So jury selection. I took a couple notes on this just so I don't leave anything out.
Okay.
Of jury selection.
Was this part of the notes that you sent to me?
Yes, third page.
Okay. Third page. All right, let me get my notes here. I love having talking points.
And I know I took all this stuff because I don't want to forget anything. I know I've already forgotten some stuff, but
I think you've gotten the gist of it. This is the way your retelling of it is excellent, which is why I wanted to have you on the show.
my obsession with it.
Your obsession with it. Let's talk about how many times you've actually gone to the crime scene, Brian.
I actually have not been to the crime scene.
You haven't? Oh, I thought you went to Rockingham.
However, I went on a Hollywood tour, and I asked if we could go to Rockingham or Bundy. He told me that was too far out of their route. So then he started trying to quiz me.
Okay.
And I had to break him down. He's like, how the hell do you know all this stuff about OJ Simpson?
Because I spent my summer and half of my 8th grade year watching the trial.
Listen, and I'm up all night. I read.
Yep.
All right, so jury selection. So the main thing was it was a big debate on whether the trial should be held in Santa Monica or downtown LA. If you hold it in Santa Monica, your jury pool is going to be a white jury. If you hold it in downtown LA, it's going to be pretty much a black jury.
Right. So
they ended up having it in downtown LA. A lot of people think that there's political reasons why, it was held there. I think Gil Garcetti, who was the DA, was like up for re-election or something.
Okay.
So it was like, I guess it was one of them things where it was like, is he going to take heat for moving this trial out of LA?
Okay.
Will you lose any black voters that you have if you move it? So it stays in LA.
Okay.
I believe they did something. They'll what is it? Is it a census where they'll send out and kind of get the public's opinion on certain things? But they basically were trying to see what I don't want to say what type of jury we would get. Where they were trying to gauge the LA people's. Yeah, they were trying to see where their mind was, basically.
Right.
Would we be able to get a conviction?
And this is before they even started picking jurors.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
So I wrote something down just so we didn't forget this. So, and the one thing that I had watched, they said they were able to figure out that they were not going to get a bunch of sympathetic black females.
Oh, I can totally see that.
They weren't sympathetic to Nicole.
They were sympathetic to OJ.
Right. Why did you marry this white woman? But Nicole got the blame for that.
Yeah. Oh,
he
yeah.
Didn't get anything. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I can totally see that. And I think it's sad, but that's kind of the page that a lot of black, and I was young. I was like 19 or something like that. But that's the page that like a lot of black women were on. Like, oh, he didn't do it he didn't abuse the first wife. She should have stayed with her own or whatever the case was.
Yep.
Yeah.
They said this is something else I found in the ESPN doc. If you haven't watched that, you got to watch it.
Check it out.
They say the ideal juror would have been Asian or white and younger, someone who's never heard of OJ.
Because then it would have been unbiased. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
But what was the makeup of the jury? Do you know?
There were 8 black women.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That's why he got off.
Well, we'll get into reasons why he possibly got off.
Okay.
There's more to it, Matter of fact, I'm gonna write that down so we don't forget that.
8 black women. I never knew the makeup of the jury. That's something I really didn't pay attention to. Like I said, I remember my grandmother watching it, and I would like come in every now and again, and I would pay attention for a minute or two, but it wasn't like I was.
Well, Marsha Clark said they were fighting from behind from the very beginning.
Okay.
Because it was held in downtown LA.
Yeah.
So they figured they got the best out of a bad pool for them, for the prosecution.
Okay. They did the best that they were going to do.
They did the best that they were going to do.
Right.
Meanwhile, OJ, Carl Douglas, who was a part of the defense team, tells a story where he says they're walking back from the courtroom, going into the holding area where they put OJ. And he said, OJ's going like this. He said, man, if this jury convicts me, maybe I did do it.
OJ?
Mm-hmm.
Now, Orenthal, come on now.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So the defense was very happy with it.
He just knew. He was cocky with it. He knew.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Mm-mm. So why in your notes it says defense games? What's that all about?
Oh, so I don't know if you remember this, but they say it was like everything was scripted with the defense. So what they would wear when they would come to court. So I know Johnny had on, or one of them had on the African print, tie. So I remember one day on Saturday Night Live, they did a skit, and they had everybody dressed up, the whole defense team dressed up in like African garb.
Like
the one guy had the nose ring.
Oh no.
Oh yeah.
Mm-mm.
And the jury says that they knew what was going on. They knew that.
But that's not even OJ's character. Like OJ was not. He wasn't that guy.
Mm-mm.
Now, Ryan, tell me if you've heard this before. Did I just make this up? That the defense team actually went in and put in like black art in his house when they took the
house.
Did that happen?
Absolutely. We can talk about that now because that was pretty much coming up. That was in the beginning.
Okay.
So the prosecution wanted to take the jury to Bundy Drive to see Nicole's place, the crime scene.
Mm-hmm.
So the defense, says, well, we're going to Rockingham too.
Mm-hmm.
So if I remember correctly, they went to Bundy.
Mm-hmm.
Nicole's house had been completely cleared out. So, you couldn't really get any sort of feeling,
you couldn't get a gauge,
or see anything sentimental or anything. It was just empty house.
Right.
Well, they go to Rockingham at OJ's.
Mm-hmm.
And they said from the minute that door opened up, the prosecution was pissed.
Really?
They said, Marsha Clark said, it looks like a black guy lives here. It didn't before.
Wow.
They said he had a staircase that kind of swiveled around. So it had a large wall going up the stairs. Okay. And he said it was all pictures of him with white people.
Mm-hmm.
No family or nothing like that. They said when Marsha went in there, it looked like a black man lived there. There was pictures. They said OJ Simpson was never so black in his life, they said. They said there were pictures, with him, with family. I think it was Carl Douglas. He said half them pictures OJ probably never even saw before.
I'm sure.
And then at the top of the steps, they had, I believe it was the Norman Rockwell painting, with the little girls walking into the school.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
They had that at the top of the steps. So it looked like he was this
black art.
You know, yes, this
lies and apple pies. We all
and
know
they actually
black art in his house.
The defense and the prosecution and Judge Ito actually went and had like a sidebar because Marsha Clark wanted to leave. She said the jury should not go in there and see that.
Yeah.
And Judge Ito allowed it to happen.
Wow.
But to me, that's the risk you run if you say we're going on a field trip to see Bundy Drive. Then, well, we need to go on a field trip to see Rockingham too.
Mm-hmm.
There was blood evidence found there.
Yeah. Yeah. So who went in and put in all this black art? And
the defense team.
So Johnny and them.
Johnny and them. Yep. Matter of fact, they say that painting was from Johnny's office.
Wow. That's something else. You know what? Because a good attorney is nothing but a spin doctor.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yep. Wow. Listen, he had the right ones for sure.
Yeah.
He definitely.
But think about it. You had the team you had the best team that money could buy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. And it was their job to get him off, and they definitely did.
Mm-hmm.
They definitely did. Wow. Tell me how Furman quickly became like a topic of conversation. What was his role in this? Mark Furman at the trial.
So Furman is interesting. I gotta go to my notes just to make sure that I don't get this wrong when I say this about him. But Furman had some race issues before this trial.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. When they started doing research on the defense team on Furman, they found that there was a case where they were looking for something where Mark Furman was the defendant in a case. They were just looking for anything.
Anything, right? Okay.
Furman found the glove. We need to discredit him.
Okay.
Well, they found that Furman had sued the LAPD pensions or something. I don't know exactly what division it was, but he had sued them because he wanted to be let go basically from the force and paid because of the stress of Black people.
I'm sorry.
Yes. That's why I was trying to find the exact quote because I put the exact quote somewhere, but yeah.
So he was saying
he sued the LA pension board, asking to be relieved from being a police officer because his mind was so poisoned by hatred of Black people.
He said that?
Yes, that was in the court documents.
I don't even know what to say to that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty much why they built on him being the one that was trying to frame OJ, because he has this hatred of Black people. OJ's a Black man who was married to and is accused of killing a white woman. So that's why they lean so heavily on him as the one that played.
And there's also a story about he wanted to go to Africa so he could kill Black people and wouldn't get in trouble.
How does that work?
So, but he kind of the Goldman family got mad because it became, instead of the trial of OJ Simpson, it became the trial of Mark Furman, but the defense did what they needed to do. They're trying to get their client off. I mean, when all this comes out, there is some doubt. You know what I mean?
There was a lot of doubt. There was a lot of doubt. But
then there was a woman. I didn't think I was going to be able to remember her name, and I didn't write it down. Laura Hart McKinney.
Okay.
So Laura Hart McKinney was working on something with Furman, and she was recording Furman. I believe it was like a movie or something. She was recording Furman, and Furman said all this racial stuff in this recording, and it came to them in the middle of the trial. So they knew they were screwed right there,
right?
with
Okay,
Furman and the glove, and
So I wonder if it had been any other detective in the world, they would not have been able to even use that part of their defense, because he has so much stuff already built up against him that had nothing to do with it.
So at that point, though, when the tape comes out from Laura Hart McKinney, Furman had already testified to finding the glove. So you're really screwed now, because if you knew that the tapes existed, you don't put him on the stand. Right. However, if you have no plans to put him on the stand, then you really can't introduce the glove. Because if you want to introduce the glove, you got to put the person on that found the glove.
Well, yeah, that's true.
So.
Wow. So it says that Darden argues following Furman's use of the N-word into the trial. Cochran responded. What was his response? What did Cochran say about Furman?
So they said Johnny was pissed because Christopher Darden got up and basically I don't want to say defended, Furman. And then Johnny had to get up and kind of, broke him down and just made him look silly.
Well, that was his job.
Because basically, it sounded like, from what I remember, Darden was kind of hinting that if Black people heard the stuff that Furman was saying, that they would not be able to be objective. They weren't. The way Johnny spun it was they weren't smart enough to be objective, is what Darden was saying. That's how Johnny spun it.
Okay.
So he really made what Darden said even
Johnny
worse.
was basically saying that Darden is insulting your intelligence.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah. What is it that you have here? You said something about Nicole's safe deposit box. There were pictures and notes or something like that?
Yes. So wait a minute. So Darden was not originally on the prosecution team.
How did he get added? What happened?
The jurors were kind of surprised when the trial started, and then here's a Black face. So they I think they instantly thought, okay, they put him on here, to try to get us to identify with him or whatever. Okay. The prosecution says no. They say that Darden was a skilled trial attorney, who he deserved to be there.
Okay.
So, but yeah, so Darden was not originally a part of the prosecution.
Okay. Because it was Darden, Marsha Clark. Was there anybody else on that side?
Darden, Clark, and Bill Hodgman.
Because that's a name that I don't even remember. I remember Darden and I remember Marsha Clark. I don't remember anybody else. Okay.
Hodgman, I think, got sick during the trial. I don't want to say a heart attack or something. It was something. He had a major problem. Okay. So. Wow.
All right. So what about Nicole's deposit box? I saw that in your notes.
Yeah, so they had somebody get up and testify about the contents of the safe deposit box. So I guess it was probably one of them things where she put this stuff away in case something was to happen to her. Okay. And inside they found the famous photos of her,
with the bruised face and all that.
Yep.
Okay.
So they later had her sister Denise testify, and Denise said she was the one that took the pictures.
Okay. So her family knew she was being abused and stalked.
Denise knew. I don't think everybody knew, because Denise tells a story, I think it was like New Year's Eve, where he just went off on her in front of everybody and was dragging her down the steps by her hair and shoving her to the ground, and I want her to F out of my house, and oh yeah.
Oh, wow. So did he have a tumultuous relationship with her family then, I'm assuming?
Yes. Well, I can't say that because I've never really heard that, honestly. So I don't know whether they didn't know or only Denise knew.
Because Denise was the one that was more prominent. Like, she was the one that you always saw out there.
Yes.
She was the one that was always speaking out about how he was abusive towards her. I didn't even know she had another sister. It was always
she got
Denise
two other ones.
Okay. So it's four sisters.
Yeah, or 3.
Okay.
Denise, Nicole, Tanya. Oh, yeah, 4. I'm sorry. One more.
Okay.
I don't remember her name, though.
Okay. Yeah, but Denise was always the one that you saw. And that was always in front of the camera.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow. And did she get on the trial and testify? Did she get on the stand?
Denise testified. She actually told that story that I was just telling you about.
Okay.
She told that story. She told that she was the one to take the pictures.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Who's Ron Shipp? It says that he decided to testify. So
Ron Shipp was LAPD police officer who headed up he headed up some sort of domestic violence program.
Okay.
He became friends with OJ. So OJ became friends with the cops. And the cops used to come over.
I'm not mad at OJ. He actually kind of smart.
They used to come over and swim and barbecue and all that stuff.
He was like, "We're gonna make nice, because if I ever need y'all, remember I to my house with them."
Did. So him and Ron Shipp ended up becoming friends. And Ron Shipp also became friends with Nicole.
Okay.
Ron Shipp says that Nicole, when the situation with OJ happened, so there's been multiple. So I'm trying to remember if this was the time that Furman was there, when he went to Rockingham and found OJ with the baseball bat. I don't believe it was that night. It was another night where there was a domestic violence call. And when the cops came, I said OJ has 2 gates. Well, he sped out the other gate, and the cops couldn't find him.
Okay.
So, in that incident, Ron Shipp says that OJ said to him he needs his help. Him and Nicole got into a little scuffle. She was beating him up, and he was trying to hold her off and whatever. So Ron Shipp said, "Oh, I got you. If that's the story, I got you." He said he gets a call, one day at the office, and Nicole's there to see him. So he comes down, and Nicole tells him what really happened. And she says it's not the first time.
Okay.
So that's when Ron Shipp becomes hip to the game as far as what's going on there.
Okay. Wow.
So, yeah.
And so but it took a while for him to actually see it.
They were still friends after that.
Okay.
So matter of fact, Ron Shipp is one of the guys that tells a story about, he heard OJ tell multiple stories about the cut on the finger. And he said that's when I kind of started saying, yeah, I got to get out of here.
Really? Yeah, I mean, because how long can you defend? I mean, if you connect the dots.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still allegedly, because he was not convicted, so we can't say that he did it, but it's like, you got to be like blind, deaf, and dumb.
Well, and that's why I say, for people who just refuse to believe that he could have done this, I say, if you strictly look at the evidence, take away color, take away celebrity, just strictly look at the evidence. There's no way that you're going to come out of it and say that he's not guilty.
Right.
If you come out of looking at that evidence and say he's not guilty, then you really just don't want to believe that he's guilty.
Right. Yeah. And you know what, Ryan? Not sidebar here, okay? For years, I used to think, and I remember you correcting me saying this, I used to think that it was the oldest son. What's the oldest son's name?
Jason.
I thought it was him. I thought the oldest son did it, because weren't they supposed to go to his restaurant or something that night, and he was
so basically their defense was that, or their theory with that is Jason was angry because they were supposed to go to his restaurant, and he got everything all prepared, and they didn't show up. They went to Mezzaluna. I'm sure if you're that crazy that you will kill somebody for not coming to your restaurant, but I don't think that that's motive, that I'm going to go down here and cut these people
and
up.
Kill 2 people. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay.
And I had watched another documentary where they kind of did a timeline.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they took a test run,
mm-hmm.
and it really couldn't have been done. It would have been too tight.
Mm-hmm.
With that being said, there was a discrepancy with his time card that night at work.
So he had left work?
He had left work and came back, they believe.
I'm going to have some popcorn while we're talking.
Okay, that's fine. And Jason also, you know, just full disclosure, Jason had also had an issue with an ex-girlfriend and a knife.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so he threatened someone.
But that didn't come out during the trial, though. I remember seeing that just in the last 5 years.
Mm.
So that's not something that even.
This was prior to Nicole being murdered that he had this issue with.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, by the way, Jason is a successful chef in Georgia now.
Good for him. Good for him. All of his children are doing well.
It sounds like it.
Okay.
Yeah, because the 2 younger ones they're into real estate, like big time.
Okay. Good. I mean, it's so sad. Like their mother was ripped away from them. Their fathers.
And it doesn't sound like they have a great relationship with their mother's family.
Really?
Because if you remember, after the trial, OJ moved to Florida shortly after.
Right, and he had custody of the children.
Where they can't take your house in a civil judgment.
Really so smart. Because he never paid the families, right? The families were never paid from the civil suits.
They got whatever was sold from the house.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But no, I think it was like a couple $100,000, if that, maybe 100 and something thousand.
Wow. Now, when Ron Furman got on the stand, he pleaded the fifth the entire time?
With Mark Furman? Mark Furman was on the stand early on, and he talked about the glove and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
He pleaded the fifth later when that Laura Hart McKinney tape came out.
Mm-hmm.
Then they pulled him up on the stand, and he pleaded the fifth.
Okay.
But, like, you know, the prosecution and the detectives, they're like, you don't plead the fifth. You get up there and say, no, I didn't plant evidence.
Right.
But he pleaded the fifth. So I don't know how true this is. Maybe Goose knows this. But
you know
is it true?
I was asking him if he knows. Listen to what Ryan's saying.
So listen to this. Mm-hmm. So if you plead the fifth, and if you're on the stand and you plead the fifth to one question, do you then have to plead the fifth to every question that's asked?
Oh, so every subsequent question. You say
yes.
You don't have to. It may be smart if you do, but it all depends on what answering that question will implicate.
Okay. Because one of the questions at the very end.
You don't implicate yourself in anything.
Okay.
So it would make sense to continue on with the I plead the fifth.
So that's what he did. He pled the fifth.
Yeah.
And the main question, did you plant evidence at the crime scene?
Mm-hmm.
I wish to protect my Fifth Amendment. Mm-hmm. And they said that's like, the defense kind of backed them into that. They said that was the main question.
Wow.
Did you plant the glove?
Right.
He pleaded the fifth.
Wow. That's crazy. It seems like to me, like there was no way they were going to win this. It was too many variables. There was just no way they were going to win this.
Yeah. The prosecution was fighting from behind just with the jury selection.
Yeah.
You know, and then the Furman situation really screwed them.
Yeah. Wow.
But the thing is, like I said, if you want to introduce the glove, you have to bring up Furman. Now, of course.
You have to. Absolutely, because he found the glove.
Exactly.
Right.
F. Lee Bailey tore him apart, though.
Yeah, I like F. Lee Bailey. Rest in peace.
Because he said to him, so F. Lee Bailey said, you know, when he was interviewing him, he said, you know, or cross-examining him, you know, have you ever used the N-word? No. Have you used the N-word within the last 10 years? No. That tape comes out. You lied on the witness stand.
Everywhere, yeah. Wow.
So it did in a way become the Furman trial, but the thing is, if Furman is an integral part of this case, and he's got all this crap with him, you'd be a fool not to bring it all up. You have to.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, you definitely have to.
Yep.
Ryan, let's move on. You say in your notes here that I'm looking at something about DNA with Barry Scheck. What is that about? So
Barry Scheck was on the defense team. He's an attorney.
Okay.
He was their DNA guy.
Okay. Their forensics expert.
Their forensics expert, yes. Okay. Barry Scheck, really, I believe that it became Barry and Johnny for the defense team.
Okay. They became the two headliners almost.
Yes. Because Barry Scheck basically he busted up their whole, everything with DNA. He just busted it all up. By the way, with the DNA, the jury has said, like when they interviewed them after the fact, the jury said it was too much DNA. They lost interest because the prosecution spent so much time on DNA.
Okay.
But you figure it's 1994. Most people probably had never heard of DNA.
Right.
Or
it's
DNA
still
evidence.
So new. Like at that point, DNA is only 10 years old.
Yes.
So they're like, what are you talking about? I don't even.
They said they spent way too much time. They were bored to death with the DNA.
Right. Right.
But yeah, so Barry Scheck, there was a guy, the forensic criminalist or whatever, Dennis Fung. He was a young guy at the time. So they basically crucified Fung on the witness stand because when he got up there, he was the one that was in charge of collecting the evidence. And all the cameras and stuff were out there. Well, they kept catching him, mishandling evidence.
What do you mean, like no gloves on?
No gloves.
Come on. Wow.
And I mean, they're on the witness stand and they're stuck.
Yeah,
but I never did this before.
We can see that you're not following proper chain.
Exactly.
Proper protocol.
So it was Fung and some lady, Miss Mazzola, that they talk about too. So they caught them both mishandling evidence. They also, the detectives, Tom Lang specifically, common sense. You don't take, so if you come across the body of Nicole at her residence, you don't go and take anything from her residence and bring it anywhere near the body, right?
Right.
Well, they decided to go inside of her house and find blankets to cover the bodies with.
Wait a minute. You're telling me that at the crime scene, instead of covering the bodies, anything, they went into the victim's home, got her linens, and covered the bodies with her linens?
Yes. So think about it. The defendant, OJ Simpson, has been in 875 South Bundy Drive.
Absolutely.
He was married to the victim.
Absolutely.
How many hairs could have come out of his head? How many skin cells could have, and then you put that blanket on the body.
It is called Lockhart's principle, right? Lockhart's theory. And the way it goes is when you walk into a crime scene, you leave something and you take something with you.
Exactly.
Common
sense. Common sense.
Well, common sense is not common, apparently, with the LAPD.
Covered them with blankets from the crime scene. And Tom Lang says this because, it was a large crowd forming and the cameras and whatever. Okay, so you mean to tell me you can't make a phone call and say, somebody get blankets down here ASAP?
Exactly. This was screwed up from the very beginning. It was screwed up.
So these are all reasons.
And it all benefited the alleged killer.
Yep.
Lord have mercy.
Crazy, right?
It's insane. Wow. So what about this blood that was on the back gate? What about that?
So 3 weeks later, after all the evidence was collected, and they have pictures where on the back gate at Bundy, this blood, it was a little speck of blood, a little dot.
A little
it
speck.
It was not on the back gate. 3 weeks later, somebody goes back to the scene and there's a speck of blood. So that kind of leads to the theory that blood was, planted. But the speck of blood, they say, had traces of EDTA in it. So, EDTA is it's supposed to be like a preservative, if I'm explaining this right. So, Marsha Clark says
when they take a blood sample and put it in the tube.
Yeah.
That's solution.
So, yes. And they say it's at the top of the vial. So if you were to pour it back out, it's going to have the EDTA because it's hitting the passing through the vial.
Right.
If I'm explaining that correctly, that's how I understand it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
The prosecution says that EDTA is in your food. They say it's in your detergent, stuff like that. So Marsha Clark says that those are the reasons why it was, she's saying nobody tampered with the evidence. Okay. That right there, though, I mean, that would kind of tell you that there's something funky was going on there.
Right.
So.
Wow. Let's talk about the glove. You said it was traced back to Nicole actually purchasing the glove.
In Bloomingdale's, I believe, in New York. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
They were able to trace all the numbers and find the receipt. Wow. And find her actually sign her name.
The alleged glove she bought for her alleged killer. Okay. Okay.
Yep.
Wow.
And the glove, when they tested the glove, it had a mixture of DNA. It had Ron, Nicole, and OJ.
So how is that possible
unless you're at the crime scene?
Exactly, if he wasn't there.
And the blood in the Bronco also has it has different spots. If I remember correctly, different spots in the Bronco contained all three. Then you had some that just contained Nicole and OJ. So, wow. But there was definitely some cross contamination there.
Every day that the defense went into the courtroom, I know they were deflated. This is not going good, guys.
Oh, for the prosecution?
Yeah.
Yep.
And then especially once, he had to try the glove on, is it true that he was taking anti-inflammatory medicine and then he stopped taking it? Is that right?
So that was the rumor forever.
Okay.
And then OJ's manager, longtime manager, Mike Gilbert, said that OJ was nervous about trying on that glove. So Mike Gilbert told him, stop taking your arthritis medication.
Oh, okay.
So your hands would swell up.
Right. And then the glove won't fit. Wow. Yep. Now, was it true also that the defense did not want him to try the glove on?
The defense didn't want him to try the glove on. They didn't.
Why didn't they? Do you know?
I think the defense, that's something that I still don't understand. I don't know whether it's okay, if he doesn't try it on, it'll just be believed that it doesn't fit, or because I didn't understand that from the defense point of view.
Okay.
But the defense, so F. Lee Bailey suckered Chris Darden into getting OJ to try the glove on.
F. Lee Bailey suckered Chris Darden, but how? How did he do that?
Chris Darden, they went to recess, and Chris Darden told, F. Lee Bailey told Chris Darden, listen, we're gonna have him try the glove on after lunch.
But that was not true.
If you don't do it, we're going to do it. It wasn't true.
Oh, so
the prosecution had already decided he's not trying the glove on.
Okay.
And especially because you don't, common sense,
Which is not
why do you introduce something and you don't know how it's going to go? Like, you really don't know if that glove was going to fit him.
Right.
You never seen him try it on.
Right.
Behind closed doors. So, and if you think about it, the glove had been saturated in blood. It had been frozen. It had been thawed out. It's leather. It's going to shrink.
That's right.
And you're trying the glove on with a latex glove underneath.
Why did he have a latex glove? Why did he have?
Because since it was evidence, they don't want you handling it with your.
Okay, got it. Okay.
Look, and he's the defendant. They messed around and said, "We just found a skin cell in there."
Mm-hmm.
So, so they come back from recess, and Darden goes rogue, and he decides we're going to have the defendant try the glove on. And there's a video where when he says that, Marsha Clark looks up at him like, "What the fuck?" Like,
wow.
We talked about this. He's not trying the glove on.
Right. Oh my God.
So, and they said that's when OJ went into actor mode. Naked Gun. Because they said he put the glove on, and they said he's going like this, and they're saying he never pulled it down. He was moving
just yanking on his arm.
And he said doesn't fit.
Wow. And we all know what happened from that. If the glove doesn't fit, you must have quit. Famous.
So I believe that. I think that quote came from Alan Dershowitz.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It wasn't Uncle Johnny that said it?
He said it on the, they said it in there. Alan Dershowitz and one of the other guys were somewhere else. Mm-hmm. And they were on like a conference call.
Okay.
And he just said, if the glove doesn't fit, you must have quit.
Wow.
Johnny made it famous.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Because anybody can say that line today, and people know exactly what we're talking about.
Yep.
Have mercy.
I remember that day. If it doesn't fit, you must have quit.
How long did the trial last?
So we went from January, would you say January 20 something or 17?
I think January 24th, I think it was. Hold on, let me see.
And the verdict was read
29th, 1995.
The verdict was read October 5th.
Okay. Wow, that's 8 months. 8 months. How long was deliberation? How long did it take for the jury to come back with the verdict?
I think they thought it was going to be longer. I don't think it was that long because one side, the prosecution, I guess, thought this is a bad sign that this is coming back so quick.
Okay. Yeah.
Because Johnny went a couple hours away.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he went like on a weekend like vacation or something.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And had to come back.
Oh, wow. Okay. I didn't know that. Wow.
Yep.
And he was found innocent or not guilty on all counts.
On all counts.
So then that makes you wonder, how was the civil case allowed to proceed? Like, how was it that he was found guilty civilly, but criminally not guilty?
See, that's something I don't understand. I've always said I thought that needed to change because basically in the criminal case, you say, okay, you're found not guilty, but the civil case says, but we still believe you did it.
Yeah, it's so confusing.
But the difference with the civil and the criminal, in the criminal case, he's not forced to testify.
Sure.
In the civil case, he has to do a deposition and testify.
Okay.
So you better tell the truth.
Right. Wow. Well, Ryan, I guess that's it for us. This has been so fun.
I don't listen. We got to have part 2 because there's a whole nother element to this after the civil trial. That's when things get wacky.
Okay, it gets strange. How could it possibly get stranger?
The move to Florida. Okay. I'm going to tease it.
Okay.
The move to Florida brought some wacky stuff, including We had a cable show.
OJ did.
Soft porn.
OJ?
Yeah.
What? I did not know.
We got some crazy stuff going on in Florida. In Florida, the Friends changed from ritzy upscale to
thuggish, ruggish bone.
Fighting on the golf course, literally.
What? Okay. Yeah, well, Ryan, as I told you, like legitimately, we've gone like almost 2 hours.
Yep.
Even with our little snafu in the beginning, we've gone almost 2 hours.
So what we'll do is we'll stop here because there's so much to talk about. We got to talk about the end of the trial stuff, like there's a couple things we can still touch on with the end of the right before the verdict.
Okay.
Plus there's we can touch on the jury because the jury has a lot to say all these years later.
Okay. Absolutely.
That's very interesting.
All right.
I'll say this. In Los Angeles or not, there's a good chance that he is found guilty if that trial was that case was retried with the same jurors.
Really? All right. So then that's gonna be our cliffhanger. We're gonna pick it back up next time.
We'll drop there. Yep.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, Ryan. I appreciate you.
Thank you. I love this.
Yes, absolutely. So we're gonna come back with the trial, the jurors. Yeah, we're gonna pick up part deux. No.
That's right.
So all right, Ryan. Thank you so much. I appreciate you joining me for Murder Mayhem in minutes. But it was a lot of minutes.
Yes.
All right, Ryan. Thanks so much. I appreciate you. You take care. I'll talk to you soon.
All right.
All right, family. Thanks for joining us tonight. We'll talk to y'all soon.